Good day, everyone. My name is Jerlyn Ayhusay from BSED Filipino 2B. And I am here in front of you to report about my topic, which is Lesson 8 in Multicultural Education subject. Lesson 8 is entitled Religion and Culture. Let me begin my discussion. Religion was rarely. It is one of the most influential in the perception and action of students' religion, like gender, class, and ethnicity, is likely to shape an individual's demeanor. The objective of this report is not to present a comparative analysis of other religions, but to help you appreciate how religion may be a significant element of an individual's cultural makeup. All religions and religious groups are essential to individuals who practice them, especially to those who are members of them. We'll go over some of the most frequent religious groups that educators in the United States may encounter in their classrooms because of their current effect on the political process and the efforts of those within the evangelical movement to influence educational systems. Evangelical Christians will receive extensive attention in this edition. Religion's composition of school. The religious diversity of one's workplace is influenced in part by the school's geographic location in the United States. As a result of immigration and migration trends, many ethnic and religious groups settle in various parts of the country. Religious beliefs frequently influence what parents anticipate from education. Instructors are likely to have considerable difficulties if a parent's religious beliefs collide with the school goals. Take a look at the religious makeup of school in different sections of the country to get a sense of how diverse our educational institutions are. As one travels the different schools across the United States, specific features emerge, and the patterns can be seen. Religious groups in the community have a strong influence on school in some areas. The members of the school board, the appointment of school administrative leadership, and the curriculum may all be influenced by the main religious groups in these communities. In religion may have little or no impact on the nature of the environment in other areas of schools. The First Amendment and the separation of church and state. The First Amendment expressly prohibits Congress from enacting laws creating religion or restricting religious worship. The courts have generally read this affirming the separation of religion and state norm. This provision is one of the most important in our Constitution. It is also one of the most contentious. Various individuals and groups have attempted to interpret this amendment to fulfill their own purposes and interests throughout the history of this country. For some, religious emphasis in public schools is okay as long as it is consistent with their own religious beliefs. If other groups attempt to inject the religious dogmas, these same folks may be eager to highlight constitutional safeguards for separation of church and state. Religion as a way of life. Many religions are particularistic in that members believe that their own religion is uniquely true and legitimate and all others are invalid. Other religious groups accept the validity or distinct religions that have grown out of different historical experiences. The importance of religion in our lives. In the United States, 84% of the population claim to have a preference for some religious group. Religion influences the way many people think, perceive, and behave. Freedom of religious expression. Brazil, Japan, the United States, Italy, South Africa, and the United Kingdom are among the countries. Kingdom is one of the countries with the fewest religious restrictions expression. Individuals in other countries, on the other hand, are not so fortunate according to Grimm 2013. Nearly one-third of the world's countries have restricted religious legislation. The fact that these countries are home to almost 70% of the world's population, just add to the worry. Some of the limits are essentially government-imposed, while others are social in nature. Citizens with undesirable religious ties may face hostilities. Government and the societal limitations sometimes act together. Approximately one-third of the world has restricted policies on religion. Globally, the Middle East and North Africa tends to have the most stringent government and social restriction on religion, and the Americas the least. While religious differences often cause frustration and acrimony in school and society, we often take freedom of religious expression. Religious groups addressed in the text. Religious diversity is particularly important to those who adhere to a religious faith. As a result, the authors of this text believe that religious diversity should be embraced and celebrated wherever peaceful and harmonious coexistence is valued. Understanding your student and their family's religious views and practices will help you better meet their needs. Religious pluralism in the United States. Religion in the United States is dynamic and constantly changing. Americans tend to identify not only with major groups but also with smaller groups or denominations. Although religious pluralism is our past has often led to conflict. The hope of the future is that it will lead to a better understanding and respect for religious differences. A changing religious landscape. While the United States has remained primarily a Christian nation with strong Protestant influence, the country has seen slow but steady changes in the last few decades. Recent data suggests that Americans are becoming less religious, with nearly twice as many, almost 20% choosing no religious identification in 2008 compared with 1990. The end of Christian America. The results of the American Religious Identification Survey shocked religious communities across the country. According to recent data, many people outside the Christian faith believe that today's Christians act unchristianly and have little regard for the Christian lifestyle. Educators must respect all of their students' religious beliefs. Educators should also be on the lookout for students who show religious intolerance towards others. Protestantism. Western Europeans who moved in the great numbers to the United States brought their wide varieties of Protestantism with them. Despite accounting for 40.1% of the population, Protestants are no longer the majority in the United States. Despite not having a numerical majority as in earlier decades, they continue to shape society and institutions. Protestantism liberal or conservative Protestants. Protestants make up approximately 47% of the U.S. population. Although not a numerical majority, their influence is still continued in the society and institutions. Among Protestants, there is considerable diversity in views. Liberal, conservative, Protestant, or evangelical or fundamentalist Christians, fundamentalist and evangelical Christians exert particular influence in education and politics. Effects of Protestantism on education. Protestants have a long history of public and private service. Private educational opportunities due to difference in Protestant beliefs. Numerous court actions have been filed to determine what can and cannot be taught to or demanded of children in public schools. Attempts by certain fundamentalist Christians to introduce creationism into the classroom have resulted in legal action. Schools have experienced problems with Jehovah's Witnesses because some of their youngsters refuse to salute the flag. Some Amish parents have gone to court to have their children removed from public schools once they finish 8th grade. Other religious organizations continue to exist. Struggle against the 1963 Supreme Court, decision banning prayer in the public schools. Evangelicals. Evangelicals have long been a component of the United States religious landscape. States have existed since the mid-1700s. Billy Graham's ministry is one of the most well-known in the world. Current evangelical Christianity's most well-known examples evangelicals are conservative Christians, generally Protestants, who believe that conversion or born-again experience is required for salvation. Acknowledgement of the Bible's authority and the recognition of Jesus' birth, miracles, and resurrection as supernatural events. Corrigan and Hodgson 2010, Hafe and Woodward 2012. According to estimates, between 23 and 24% of the U.S. population, according to Wright 2003, and 26.3%, according to Pew Research Center 2014, identify as evangelicals. The evangelical movement has exploded in popularity in recent years. They have used mass media, such as television, to reach out to their followers. Some have grown into mega churches, with 2,000 or more weekly attendees, some topping 10,000, and job banks, counseling, and even dating services are among the services offered. Evangelicals and education. On education, evangelical Christians hold opposing viewpoints. Several of the conservative evangelicals prefer to send their children to private Christian schools, but others choose to educate their children at home. Many evangelicals consider school prayer to be a significant issue. Another topic that comes up frequently is tuition tax credits, particularly among the parents who have chosen to send their children to private Christian schools rather than public schools. Political influence of Protestants and other religious groups. In the United States, political leadership frequently reflect on the influence of foreign powers. In 2014, Protestants lead in representation in Congress with 56% compared to the 48% of the general population who indicated they were Protestants. Roman Catholics came in second, with 31% higher than the Gallup finding of 23.3% of the general population. Jewish members of the Congress made up a small percentage of the total. 11 members of the 113th Congress do not identify themselves as religious, according to Manning 2014. Catholicism, one denomination under a pope which has authority over all Catholics throughout the world. Approximately 22% of the U.S. population identifies with the Roman Catholic Church. Membership in U.S. Catholic churches involves many different ethnic groups. The Roman Catholic in the United States has developed the largest private educational system in the world. Judaism. Judaism is one of the oldest religions known to humanity, and the identity is a blend of historical, religious, and ethnic variables. Judaism represents about 1% of the U.S. population. Jews in the United States and throughout the world have been the targets of prejudice and discrimination, sometimes leading to attempted annihilation of the population. Although a small percentage of the population, contribution of Jewish Americans in major fields of study and entertainment, business, economics, and politics have been profound. Islam. Islam is also one of the fastest growing religions in the United States and has over 1 billion adherents worldwide. Muslims make up 1.2% of the U.S. population. Recent world and U.S. events, especially September 11, 2001, make Islam of particular importance to us. U.S. Black Muslims form a unique identity of their own. Buddhism. Buddhism is one of the world's major religions. Immigration of Asians into the United States brings thousands of additional Buddhists into the country each year. Buddhist beliefs encompass the suffering which is part of the existence, and the solution to suffering and meaninglessness which is Buddha. Hinduism. Hinduism is the major religion of India. It is the world's third largest religion after Christianity and Islam. 13% of the world population aligns with Hinduism. It differs from other religions in that it does not have a single founder, nor a single system of morality or a central organization. Other religious groups: Latter-day Saints, LDS or Mormons, Eastern Orthodoxy Christian, Science Unitarian Universalist, Native American religions, Jainism, Sikhism, Bahaism, New Age spirituality, Wicca cults. Religion and gender. Religion often profoundly influences the gender roles in religious organization and in society in general. For the more conservative religious groups, the role of women is clearly defined and limited. Women cannot attain the highest leadership positions in the Roman Catholic Church, Mormon Church, Islamic groups, and some conservative Protestant churches. Religion and homosexuality. Homosexuality is one of the most controversial issues in religious institutions today. Some conservative religious groups view homosexuality as a matter of choice, a sin, and curable through faith. Views towards homosexuality vary considerably in other religious groups. There are intra as well as intergroup differences in beliefs. Religion and political affiliation are closely interwoven in the United States. Religion and race. Religion has a profound impact on issues of race and ethnic diversity. In 1995, the Southern Baptist Convention apologized for its role in slavery and maintenance of a culture of racism in the United States. Historically, many religious groups have found justification for slavery and discrimination against other religious groups in the Bible. Slavery and racism. The Bible does not condemn slavery, and its practice can be found throughout the both Old and New Testaments. Anti-Semitism also finds many of its historical roots in the Bible and other religious works. Role of Black religious groups. African Americans often organize their own religious institution due to racism. Black churches and religious institutions have served their communities in a variety of ways. Civil rights movement and Black churches. The modern civil rights movement was centered in the South African American churches. Religious leaders directed boycotts and organized civil disobedience and nonviolent confrontations. Disenchantment among younger generations. Some young African Americans have become increasingly disenchanted with their Black churches. Some youth have turned to secular organizations which they feel deal more directly with their life situation and with the social problems they face. Individual religious identity. Most Americans are born into the religion of their parents and later joining that same body. In the US, individuals are always free to change their religion or to choose no religion. Religion may be the primary microculture with which individuals identify, separating church and state and other issues. Public schools are supposed to be free and religious doctrine, but many people believe that schools without such a perspective do not provide desirable values orientation for students. Although schools should be secular, they are greatly influenced by the predominant values of the community.
Controversial issues in education and religion. School prayer, school vouchers, censorship, secular humanism.
Among the controversial issues that are often on the agenda of the evangelical Christians and fundamentalist religious groups are school prayer, school vouchers, and censorship. School prayer. There are several controversial issues in schools that challenge the principle of separation of church and state. In many instances, the majority in the given community may support an issue that may already have been ruled against by the courts. Despite the 1962 and 1963 Supreme Court decision regarding school prayer, conservative groups have persisted in their efforts to revive prayer in the schools. School vouchers. Various groups raise school vouchers initiatives periodically. Vouchers are intended to provide parents with a choice of schools, public or private, for their children. The funds for vouchers come from tax monies, which vary from state to state and among school districts. 14 states plus the District of Columbia offer vouchers, which may range from $4,200 for students in general education to $20,000 for students with autism and special needs. Individual school districts may also provide vouchers. Voucher initiatives are often strongly supported by religious factions, particularly those that send their children to private religious schools. Censorship. Censorship occurs when expressive materials such as books, magazines, films, videos, or works of art are removed or kept from the public access, including the removal of materials from textbook, adaptation lists, and materials from school libraries. Censorship may be based on the age and other characteristics of the potential user. Targets for the censors are books and materials that are identified as disrespectful of authority and religion, destructive to social and cultural values, obscene, pornographic, unpatriotic, or in violation of individual and familiar rights of privacy. Classroom implications teach that United States is rich in religious diversity. Show respect for religious differences by their interactions with students from different religious backgrounds. Avoid stereotyping all students from one denomination or church. Periodically, re-examine their own interaction with students. That is all for my report. I hope that you learned something from my topic. Thank you for watching and God bless us all.